Okay, we'll kick off. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this open lecture series with the Marketing Institute of Ireland and, of course, TU Dublin. My name is David Field, and I'm the interim CEO of the Marketing Institute, and delighted to be talking to you this evening. This partnership between TU and MII is hugely important, and TU recognise, I suppose, the importance of being part of a professional body like the Marketing Institute for not only helping develop your own career, but also your network, and it allows you to commit to ultimately a life of learning and really, I suppose, proving yourself in the marketing profession. And being part of the Marketing Institute of Ireland really gives you an opportunity to network with your peers and learn from your peers, as well as so many other things. We've had a webinar series going on since early April, and we've over 27 hours of leading experts from all over the world sharing their thoughts and insights as we went through and come out the other side of COVID-19. But this evening is all about the MSc in Digital Marketing and Analytics, and the team are going to talk to you about this program, which is now in its 8th year and has become an extremely popular program for aspiring marketeers. This evening's focus is going to be very much on the analytics module and how that drives true insight in developing marketing strategies. Sometimes there is a mental block when people see the words analytics and data, and I suppose what we're going to prove tonight that there's absolutely no need for that. And the panel this evening will not just demonstrate that, but we'll also talk about how predictive analytics and programmatic marketing can unlock enormous potential from a marketing perspective. So I'm delighted to say this evening you are going to hear from Jade Kim, who is a program manager for the MSc in Digital Marketing and Analytics in TU Dublin. Niall Minto will also share his insights from, particularly obviously as a lecturer on the course around data analytics. And then we have Fiona Whelan, who's the Director of Sponsorship for Swim Ireland and is actually a current student of the program. So she'll share her thoughts from someone who's actually experiencing it at the moment and tell you her views on it. So without further ado, I will hand you over to Jade.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all keeping well. Let me just share my screen. Perfect. All right, so I will just have a few words about the MSc in Digital Marketing and Analytics because this open lecture is within that program. So I'm the coordinator for that program with TU Dublin, and we're lucky to have a partnership with the Marketing Institute of Ireland. So the reason why this program is really important as well in terms of your marketing career, if you'd like to enhance it and have access to higher strategic job responsibilities, is that analytical skills are something that are very that are on high demand at the moment. I've had a little screen through LinkedIn and the different job offers that you can find in marketing these days, and they really put emphasis on analytics. So they always ask people to have some kind of experience with Tableau, SQL, Python, all those kind of new tools. And then about 40% of job applicants actually have a master's or MSc degree. So it's starting to become the norm when it comes to having an executive position in a company. And also having the level of an MSc means that you've reached a level of critical thinking and decision-making and knowledge that's higher up from other diplomas that you might have before that. So these are just some key skills that you will acquire after doing that program. So we really put a lot of emphasis on planning, implementing, evaluating, and reporting digital campaigns and digital marketing projects. We really put a lot of emphasis on big data and analytics, and Niall is actually in charge of that big piece within our program. And the idea is that you will be able to really reflect and use data in order to make the right decisions when it comes to marketing strategies. So the great thing about being in a partnership with the Marketing Institute of Ireland and TU Dublin is that you will have access to continuous training because, as David said, you will have access then to all those kind of seminars, so you're always in touch with the latest trends. The particularity as well of our program is that you have 50% of our staff that comes from an academic background, so who's really in touch with academic research, and then 50% of the rest of the staff are industry partners. So we always make sure that there is this communication between theory and practice and the latest trends that you have within the industry. We also offer a blend of classes and industry expert workshops. And as well, being part of the MII gives you access to a whole professional network and community, and access to the DMX days as well. And it's an extra stamp of quality on your MSc because it's a recognized institution in Ireland. This is just an idea of the type of schedule that the MSc follows. So it's really tailored for marketing professionals. So we know that people have the challenge of dealing with a full-time job and as well going back to school. So we've really managed those classes accordingly. So it takes 16 months to complete, which is at the moment the shortest MSc in digital marketing that you can find in terms of completion time in Dublin. If you're interested, of course, you can send me an email and I'll send you a brochure with all of the details. So the entry requirements are a 2.2 honors degree in a business discipline plus 2 years of professional experience in a marketing related role, or you can come from a non-business discipline, but then we would require 4 years of professional experience. We're also open to exceptional entries. And for that, you just have to send me an email and we can have a talk about your experience and see whether or not you'd be a suitable candidate for the master's. And really great news as well that we have in place for this year. We're putting in place a CPD in digital metrics and analytics. So if you feel like maybe, taking a part-time program as an MSc might be too big of a commitment, and you want to ease your ways back into understanding analytics, you can sign up for the CPD. And that will be ran over semester 1 and semester 2. I put the amount of hours, excuse me about that. And if you're interested about this, you can either email me or email Aoife at the MII. And thank you for listening. And I will hand you back to Niall, who's our dear lecturer, who's in charge of this whole analytics part in our MSc.
Super. Thanks very much, Jay. Okay, like yourself, I'm just going to share a screen now as well. Okay, so welcome everybody. I'm going to just take you through this presentation, about 10 minutes or thereabouts, but it's on data analytics. And I want to start with the first thing is the misconceptions that people have about data analytics. As David said there at the start, people think it's about number crunching. They have the fear of number crunching, but it's not about number crunching. It's definitely not about number crunching. Really what it's about is the concepts, getting the concepts, understanding the tools. They come well ahead of the analytics themselves. So you can see there on our finish line, we would definitely promote the concepts and the tools ahead of the analytics, because the analytics will come once you understand the concepts and the tools. So what analytics really, and analytics, digital analytics and metrics for marketing is all about, is gaining insights. It's all about gaining those insights. And from the insights, driving an action. So that's what our focus is. Our focus isn't about crunching numbers. It's about understanding the concepts, understanding the tools, so we can gain insights, so we can drive actions. And those actions have to be measurable and effective, and we have to know if they're effective, so we're using our analytics for that. But that's our focus, not number crunching. So then we talked a little bit about unicorns and skills. So digital marketing is key now, part of the role of marketer. That goes without saying. It's a central point. You can't really have the role without having your digital marketing anymore. But again, coming back to this idea of the analytics, people considering this program, they're not data analysts, they are marketeers. And as a marketeer, you have to be comfortable. I thought this guy looked very comfortable here. You have to be comfortable with extracting insights and driving market strategies. That's what you have to be comfortable with. You don't have to be the data analysts. So this is why we've made the change in the last 2 years. We've moved now fully to Python and Tableau as tools, because these tools enable you to extract insights and understand the power of the analytics. And later on, I will talk more about the power of analytics. But we have moved to using these tools because they really do enable people. I think Fiona, when she talks later on, will reiterate that point, that the power, she's now seeing the power of analytics having come through the program. And that brings me on to the next piece that we have here, is that oftentimes when people start doing this program, they start using the tools, they start going back and using those tools in their workplace, they realize the value of the data that their own organization has, and they really start seeing what they can do with it. So that brings me on to the point about where we talk about unicorns. So there is a perception out there that if you want to be in this space, you need to have data analytics, you need to have marketing, you need to know how to do statistics. And such a person realistically doesn't exist. Somebody who is a whiz at data analytics, a whiz at stats, a whiz at marketing doesn't exist. Certainly in our experience, we haven't found the person who has all those skills. They are the unicorn. But another way of looking at this is that, as we've said, the real unicorn is actually somebody who has the skills to apply the analytics in a marketing context. That is the skill. We can analyze everything. We can have lots and lots of graphs and insights, but it's about being able to do something with those insights. And that's where we want to bring you from this program. We want to bring you to be that person who has the skills to apply analytics in a marketing context. So now, just looking at the power of analytics, I'm going to just use 4 different examples here. So this is my club, in my GA club here in Donabate. And but in sports, we look at sports, and there was actually there's a program, if you get a chance to watch it, it's called Moneyball, and it's about a sports team in the US who use data to play the best players in the right positions, but not spend huge money. Now, we've seen more and more and more situations where data is being used by sports organizations. And again, maybe Fiona with Swim Ireland might be able to give us more examples. But even here, we have the Dublin football teams, both the ladies and the men's. Every single game that's played, every major game that's played, the management team are getting reports every 15 minutes on all the players, how they're doing, their breathing, their running, their passing, everything. And this is what's driving the games. It's not the only reason Dublin are successful, but it is part of the reason. Obviously, it's the athletes themselves, but the data is partially responsible for the improvements and changes in sport. The next one, maybe to point out, is that we actually all are in love with numbers, really, insofar as that we get comfort from it or we get fear from it. And the pandemic has been a great example of that. Not that you could say great and the pandemic in the same sentence, but we are all listening out for the news. We all listen what the numbers are. How many did we have? And even within that, are they clusters? And that's part again of our analytics, because if they're clusters, well then maybe it's not widespread, it's in particular groups. So we are using analytics all the time for our pandemic management. And if you look at the governments of the world, they're all using it to understand what way it's moving and what way they should have their policies. I'm not sure if the news is out yet about phase 4, but numbers are playing a huge part in whether the government are going to open up the bars and the remaining pieces as part of phase 4. So again, a lot of power in the analytics there. The next one here is about health. There's a great example of a doctor who was analyzing breast cancer. And he or she made, I'm not sure what gender, so he or she made an error in 3.5% of the cases when they were analyzing it. But they also got an AI, an artificial intelligence algorithm to do it. And they made a mistake 7.5% of the time. So they made a mistake much more often than the doctor did. And looking at this, you think to yourself, okay, well, I know where my money is, it's on the doctor. But when they combined the doctor and the AI together, it reduced to 0.5 of an error. So it went from 7.5 with the robot, 3.5 with the doctor, to 0.5 with the combined. So again, that's where we want to be. We want to use the data to help us. We're not about letting data take over, or about using that data to make enhancements. The last one is probably my favorite because it's a little bit funny. Walmart in the US many years ago combined their their data from their loyalty cards with their store purchases. And they found some obvious kind of correlations here. For instance, they found people who bought gin, bought tonic, and maybe lemon as well, but they found that correlation. That was a kind of an obvious one. But they didn't expect to find that whenever they sold nappies, they sold more beer. So the more nappies they sold, the more beer they sold. So this was a new one, and this is what came out from the data from the analysis. What they discovered was that in the days when men were less involved maybe at home, but they were being sent into the shops on their way home from work to pick up nappies, and while they were in there, they picked up beer. Now, once Walmart copped onto this, they put the beer fridges near the nappies, and as expected, the number of beers sales went up. So just to give you kind of a taste of how we work the class, again, it's a lot of games because I find that that's the best way to help people learn by having a little bit of fun. But we start off by looking at a game of Scrabble, okay? So if you think of Scrabble and you think of the value of one letter, so you're playing the game of Scrabble and you have one letter, it's not much use. It's the same as having one piece of data. There's no real value in something like that. However, if you work through your letter, so the first thing you have to do with your data is understand what your data is. So you work through your data, you learn about your data. Then you decide what you want to achieve with that data, and that is the critical part. There's no point in here fishing for numbers. Let's throw everything at it and see what comes out. You need to kind of have objectives. What do you want to achieve? So we work on that. What are you trying to achieve here? And then we achieve that by building the letters in the Scrabble or in the data. We work through our data, we decide what we want to achieve, and we use the individual pieces of data to build up a much bigger piece where we get value out of it. So Scrabble and data is very similar. You have to analyze it to understand it. You have to set objectives. You have to know what you want from it, and then you can derive real value from that. Another piece I just wanted to briefly look at is that when we talk about analytics, we really actually are looking at 4 different types of analytics, right? Just the descriptive analytics, which is what you're looking at on the screen there. It's all just about bar charts and graphs, and you know, again, going back to what we're seeing at the moment in terms of the COVID is we see that graph. But behind the scenes, of course, you're seeing our doctors and our people who are looking at the data in more depth are looking at predicting that data. So we're looking at the descriptive stuff, then they're looking at the predictive. They're trying to predict where this thing will go, what will happen if we close, if we open, if we do this, if we do that, where is it going to go? And that's the predictive nature. So you have descriptive analytics, predictive analytics. Then you have prescriptive analytics, and this is where the data starts talking almost back to you. I'm sure everybody has had that situation where on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or something like that, they've found a connection that they didn't expect. They're kind of go, how did they know I'm connected to this person? And it's where the data is actually going a step beyond and prescribing things. We give other examples in the class of how this works. Another really good one is Netflix and House of Cards in its day. And it was basically using prescriptive analytics that enabled the producers know who are the right actors, what's the right plot, the length, the director, what do we need to make this a success. So that's prescriptive analytics. And then the last one is autonomous or AI. And that is where we are looking, getting machines to look and find in-depth stuff. That is the Walmart, the nappies and beer. The Web Summit, there's a great interesting case study there on the Web Summit and how they used big data, very little money because they didn't have it at the time, but big data to see what people were talking about, what people of connections of people were talking about, what people wanted to see from a Web Summit. And it was hugely successful. So these are just some of the things that we do cover in the class, a little bit of a taster for you on that front. Again, go back to the tools. So our 2 main tools that we use, we do have Excel, but we've moved beyond Excel because the tools that are being asked for in the marketing world is Python and Tableau, as Jade has already said. being honest, Python is a little bit difficult to learn. It is logical, and it's almost English in how it's written. But it is difficult, but the learning curve is quite high in that, but it is worth it. Then on the other side, we have Tableau, which is easier to learn, and it's very effective for data visualization. So I want to just maybe share one of the things that we did, because there's no point in having all this data, there's no point in having all this analytics if we don't do anything with it. So every year in our third semester, we take a company and we work directly with a company. So this year we had the privilege, and it really was a privilege, to work with a company called Shea Emily. And if you haven't heard of them, they are in North County Dublin and in Ashbourne, and they make Belgian chocolate, Irish Belgian chocolate. Absolutely beautiful. So we spoke to Shea Emily and we said, okay, can you give us all your data, everything you have? Give us your Google Analytics, give us your sales, your point of sale information, give us your online sales, give us your Twitter, give us your Facebook, give us everything that you've got. And in addition to that, then we said, okay, we'll go collect more data. We'll find data somewhere else. And what happens, we were able to get all this data, bring it together, and the students worked on a marketing strategy proposal. And the quality of these proposals is incredible. It really is incredible. But it's a two-way win here. It's a win-win, because our company gives us all the data, and in return they get this incredible proposal. But this proposal is using the data to inform it and support it, but it's using the students' wider marketing knowledge to do something with that data, to make proper, sensible, achievable, measurable tactics and objectives. And they do. And from this, at this moment, if you check the Shea Emily website, it's not great at the moment, but they have agreed after this, after they received these reports, to make a significant investment in their digital marketing, in terms of their social media, and in terms of their website. And new stuff really is, you're going to see serious stuff coming from this company. And we are hoping that as a result of being involved with us on this, as applying their analytics, we would be hopeful that they will have a 30% uplift in their online sales. Now, before I came on tonight, I asked them whether I could use them as talk about them, and they said, absolutely, please plug us. So I can also say that the chocolate is amazing. Our students, when they were doing the reports, went and bought the chocolate and used it as part of their brainstorming. So I could definitely plug them and say it is amazing chocolate. Okay, just a little bit further on that, we look at Shea Emily as an example of an SME that realizes the growth in the omni shopper. COVID-19 has really shown us that we need to be online, we also need to be offline. We need both. And the success, in my opinion, will come from marrying online and offline data. We will have online data. That online data will help us to develop a better online experience. But the learnings from that online will also give insights that will improve our in-store customer experience. So again, it's a huge area. It's very important, and it's a growing area. The COVID-19 has changed us forever. We're never going to go back to being as much offline as we were. So now we want to use that online data to drive and understand our offline. So just in conclusion on this, analytics, there is huge power in analytics, massive power in analytics. And it's core to developing online and omni shopper experiences. We really do need the analytics to drive that. It's about making good decisions, making effective decisions, knowing our data, knowing what it really means. Jade also spoke about our industry experts. We have Martin Graham, for instance, comes in, and Martin Graham talks about making the right decision, using the data, understanding what the right decision is before you spend the money. And that's where your analytics are going to help as well. It's going to help us upsell, cross-sell, segment, understand our basket behavior and churn propensity, and a whole lot more. This is just the beginning. It really is just the beginning. It's an exciting time in many ways because we are going to move much more online. It's just a start, and data is the new oil, and data analytics is the new refinery. So thank you very much, and I'm going to hand over now to Fiona.
Hi everyone, my name is Fiona Whelan, and as David and Niall alluded to, I'm a current student on the MSc programme. I decided to pursue the programme having previously studied for the Executive Diploma in Digital Marketing. And again, as David mentioned earlier on, I was the classic skeptic when it came to analytics. It's probably not going too far to say that I was absolutely terrified, particularly when I heard mention of the likes of Tableau and Python. I definitely would have described myself previously as a classic marketeer who kind of had some idea of data and insights, but hadn't delved as far as I possibly could have. One of the reasons why I decided to pursue the course also was the growth in, I suppose, the need for metrics in the world of sponsorship. When we're working with sponsors and where we're, I suppose, when they're approaching us, data and metrics is very much central to any conversation we have. And it was crucial that we had a real handle on what it was, the data that we have, and where there were potential gaps, but also in terms of measuring success and also other outcomes. So again, as kind of has been alluded to throughout the presentations, we have had data analytics for the last 3 semesters. So we've had Niall, Luke, Martin, and also a series of industry experts come in to speak with us. I can confidently say that my knowledge and kind of comfort with the whole area of data and analytics has definitely grown over the last few months. And it's interesting to see how your viewpoint changes from the first initial assignment in semester 1 to the assignment we just completed on Shea Emily in semester 3. Certainly the questions we were asking, how we were able to manipulate the data, to how we were actually presenting the data in Tableau, and also looking at predictive analytics through Python. I never thought I'd get there. Niall did reassure me time and again that I would, but I have to say was skeptical throughout the year, but definitely have seen my own knowledge and confidence grow in this area, as well as other areas within the whole digital marketing sphere. So for anybody who is considering the course, and who has that same degree of skepticism in relation to digital marketing and analytics, I would say it's fine. You will definitely learn more than you ever anticipated you would. You will get to ask the right questions. You will get to manipulate that data however you wish. I still, when I see data now, hear Martin and Niall's voice in the back of my mind. You know, ask what the data is telling you as much as what it's not telling you. So that's always in the back of my mind now when I'm looking at new pieces of data and content. So really, I have definitely found this course to be exceptionally beneficial to me. I hope to be able to apply it more in my role going forward. We do still have the capstone assignment, which is the final project, which we will be getting in September. I'm amazed that the time has gone so fast. I can't believe we only have 3 months left to go. We're just awaiting, we've just finished summer school now, we're just awaiting results, so fingers crossed. That amazing project that we did for Shea Emily, hoping we'll do well in that. But certainly it's been an amazing experience. What's also great is the fact that it's a small class, so you get to know everybody. We learn as much from each other as we do from the lecturers on some occasions, because people look at data differently and interpret things differently, and people ask different questions. And I suppose one of the great things for me was there was never a silly question. Nobody ever kind of looked at you in a funny way if you asked what was considered by others to be a very obvious question. So it was a really open and free learning environment. And I definitely benefited from that. And that's pretty much it from me. So as I said, if you're considering it, definitely go for it.
Great. So now I'll just share someone who couldn't be with us today, but he recorded a video. He's also part of the current cohort of students that we have within the MSc. and he already had a bit of an experience with analytics, but he's going to focus more on how he's actually been using it and the kind of skills that he's improved and how it was really helpful for him as a marketeer. So let me just share my screen.
Hi everybody, my name is Rob Mullen and I'm currently studying the Masters in Digital Marketing and Analytics. I run a small company called Category First Services, and we help companies to grow by using category management services and techniques and strategies. I decided to sign up for the program because I have a background in marketing, but the marketing I studied was traditional marketing techniques and communication with very little reference to digital marketing and analytics at the time. But I wanted to improve my knowledge in the whole area of digital marketing. But apart from that, I wanted to gain some practical experience of some analytical techniques that I could take back to my business and help it grow through various different, using various different techniques, etc. Now, I recall when I attended an open day last year about the program, and one of the things on my mind was how much analytics is involved. I suppose I was a little bit worried about the amount of mathematical knowledge needed, and I was a little bit worried about would I get overwhelmed with complex mathematical theories and statistical analysis and all this type of stuff. And I suspect that there were a few people in the room that day as well who had similar worries. I was sufficiently assured at the time that although analytics is a large element of the course, that I shouldn't be unduly worried. And I have to say that through my experience, that has exactly been the case. My worries have been unfounded. Going into the program, I had a little bit of analytical knowledge, mainly in commercial analytics, using syndicated data like EPOS data, etc. So I had a grounding. And I've found that that's probably all you really need, some sort of grounding, and that will see you right. The analytics that I've learned in the course is mainly common sense stuff mixed in with some, I suppose, basic statistics that you would have maybe learned even in school, but this time around you're learning how to really apply it effectively and efficiently in the digital era. Okay, there are some new tools that you will learn, and that's been really, really useful. Things like Tableau, which is a software program for data visualization, and that can really help improve your data reporting. Another maybe more abstract tool is something called Python, which is an open source tool. Now, I've never done anything like coding or computer language programming or anything like that. And believe me, you don't need to. All you really need to do is maybe get a grasp of some of the concepts used in Python. And then you will see how it really comes into its own, and it can add actually great value. Python is really useful for predictive analytics, which is basically a way of you forecasting future trends and seeing what might happen with a particular trend going forward. It's also quite useful for taking unstructured data, the likes of social media data, scraping it down, putting it through Python, and extracting meaning and insight from the likes of Twitter, for example. So, take forward from my analytics experience, well, in my working life, I help to develop strategies and tactics for clients. And I think now I can use my new techniques not just to effectively diagnose a current situation or current situation analysis, but I think I can use things like, data-driven decision making that can take the guesswork out of some of these strategies. And in addition, I can use predictive techniques that will help to solidify my proposals with clients by using kind of models like probability of success models. I also hope to get into other things like using social media analytics to help drive decisions, etc. So to conclude, if you're interested in expanding your knowledge, learning something new, and really getting to understand the power of analytics in a practical and in a meaningful way, and in a common sense way, this program is for you, and I'd like to wish everybody the very best of luck with it. Take care.
There, I hope it worked. So yeah, that was Rob Mullen, who's one of our current students and who's really used analytics to work on his own business and within like an entrepreneurial type of spirit.
Very good. Thank you very much, Jade. Listen, some of you might have some questions that you'd like to pose to either Jade or any of the team. So feel free to put any questions on the chat or on the Q&A. Fiona, I was really interested to hear your story because I think, as I said at the outset as well, that I suppose there is sometimes a little bit of a mental block, and I even know from my own experience, the real impact of understanding, half the battle is actually understanding what the data is telling you as opposed to what it's not telling you, and that does definitely ring true. And I know from my own experience, it's actually the power of the data and the opportunity can unlock from a sales perspective can be significant, especially as you start to cultivate that kind of, I suppose, develop a cultivation program with your customers. So really interested in hearing that. Tell me, how are you applying it to your current role, or have you started, or is it kind of starting to emerge, I suppose, in your current role?
Yeah, I mean, we have such an amount of data at the moment, so we're in the process of setting up a system to allow us to fully analyse the data. I suppose beforehand we knew that there was data available in different areas of the business, but now it's actually bringing it all together, and just looking at how it's going to give us the opportunity to be better informed in terms of the decisions that we make going forward. Obviously, nobody knows exactly what's going to happen over the next 3 to 6 months, particularly within the sports environment, but we need to make sure that we remain visible at all times. We remain there to support our community, our clubs, and any of our sponsors and other partners. And we feel that the data that we have will be really valuable in terms of informing our future decisions, in terms of the programs that we offer. We've moved all of our CPD programs online. And we're actually gleaning a lot of information from that as well in terms of what works, what doesn't work, what people are looking for. So it's a case of just being able to mine all of that data and using it appropriately, as opposed to just having data for data's sake.
Yeah, and there's a lot of businesses have that. And tell me, I assume the practical approach of the course, so even the project like Shea Emily, I'm assuming that's giving you huge confidence to be able to actually demonstrate, and not only demonstrate, but articulate how simply you can actually apply data to your business.
Exactly. I mean, I think data can be overwhelming. So it's looking for what is the most relevant data as well, and identifying what your core objectives are. So what is it you want to find out, and looking at zoning in on those key areas that will give you that information. I think Shea Emily was brilliant. We all really enjoyed it. At the outset, we were thinking, okay, well, this is quite a small business. We weren't sure if there was that level of information, but who knew we were going to have uncover a world of information. I don't think any of us realised how much knowledge we were going to gain in relation to the chocolate industry in Ireland. It was fascinating.
And isn't that the thing, Niall, that there's so many data points really with every business, no matter what business, and half the time businesses don't actually realise it, or Fiona or Niall.
Yeah, well, I would agree there. There is a huge amount of data. I guess the biggest problem that companies face, and it was my own experience when I was in the industry, was it's disjointed. It's how to connect that data. So if you look at the project they had for Shea Emily, they had the online sales, they had Twitter data, they had Facebook, they had very anecdotal data maybe on the sales, because even though we asked for point of sales, they didn't have the point of sales data. But again, coming back to what Fiona says, it's about, if you know what your objectives, what are you trying to achieve, you will find ways of connecting and relating that data. But that is definitely one of the challenges, is with having, you've lots of data, but it's disjointed. Okay,
I have a question here from Linda. If I can ask about managing life, job, and the course load, how did Fiona find that? Obviously, COVID didn't help, but what's your view overall, Fiona? I suppose, and that's a natural concern for everybody, I suppose, thinking of going back in for an extensive program like this.
Yeah, well, I suppose if I can give some context, I have 3 teenage children. full-time job. I'm also run and manage a basketball club, and involved in lots of outside activities as well. So I think it's just about allocating time appropriately. I became a much better time manager over the course of the last 12 months or so. And even though COVID obviously changed things for us in terms of lectures, etc., I still kept the same hours. So originally we had lectures on a Tuesday and Thursday, and I kept those hours. And rather than just trying to cram things in at the end, I used to do bits and pieces of work on a daily basis. I used to practice Tableau and work, for example. So I became adept at presenting charts and different ways to present information. But it was just practicing as I went along and making sure that I wasn't leaving everything to last minute. But we did have ongoing assignments, and again, it was kind of a discipline that you needed to ensure that you were giving enough time, because it certainly wasn't a case of just cramming it in at the last minute.
And I take it you refer to, I suppose, the small group and the fact that you're ultimately able to lean into each other. I take it throughout the year, but the importance of that peer-to-peer learning is massive for this course.
Yeah, it is. It's incredible. So a lot of the assignments that we do are group assignments, which is brilliant. At the start of the year, when you're forming your groups, it's a little bit daunting because you don't know people. But we've formed a very core group. We know each other well at this stage. But also what's brilliant is we set up our own WhatsApp group for the wider class. So there's always somebody there to answer a question. If the group don't know it, somebody within the class knows it. And that said, all the lecturers have been extremely approachable as well. So it was never a case that we were left unsure of anything.
Very good. So the big thing is you're not alone getting into this course.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
David, can I just, if I can come in there on the time thing as well. One of the things that we do, certainly on the analytics program, is because it's a difficult concept sometimes to get, and time is a difficulty. For all the concepts, all the tools, we have made small little snippet videos, and they're all available online. So what I found this year was, and it's the first year we introduced it, we obviously encourage people to come to class, but outside of that, at whatever hour they want to work, if it's in the middle of the night, if that's what's working for them, the videos are all online as well. So they're there to support the class, but they're there also to give that level of flexibility that you can do things when it works for you.
Yeah. And that's the big thing, isn't it? Because everybody has their work commitments, family commitments, or whatever other commitments. So this is really about just shaping a routine, Fiona, to suit your own lifestyle, basically.
Exactly. And just to add to what Niall was saying, we used to have Zoom calls within our group as well, where we went through Niall's videos. So again, if somebody wasn't unsure, somebody else would be able to give you a dig out. So definitely having that peer support is crucial, especially over with COVID when we weren't face to face. It was brilliant to have that backup.
And tell me, how did you find the practitioners, Fiona, that came in as well? So I'm assuming it was great to get a kind of an industry view as well, as obviously a lecturer being ex-industry as well, but I suppose current practitioners, how did you find their approach?
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. It was really fascinating just to see their approach to things. So with Niall as well, we had huge balance between the theory and the practical and how it's applied. We'd loads of case studies. We probably drove them mental because we had more questions than anything else in the class. So we were getting our money's worth in terms of gleaning as much information as possible. And again, just even within the summer school, we had the balance of Niall and Martin. Martin coming from industry.
Yeah.
And the approach was slightly different. Martin would be more of the classic marketeer as well. And he previously studied for the MSc. So the approach and the interpretation was slightly different. So it was great to get both viewpoints rather.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I think that's the key to this, really, isn't it? It's the I suppose experience coming from the practical side of things that helps kind of shape your thinking, I assume, for your projects as well. So
yeah.
Okay, great. I'm not sure if there's any more questions coming through, but look, I certainly think Jade, Niall, and Fiona have given you a real good insight this evening into I suppose what value the undertaking this program can do for you. Fiona, and I suppose just to build on that, your views on the commitment you've given to it and how it's going to help shape your career and I suppose your positioning in the organization.
Yeah, I mean, I think I still am amazed that we've gotten so far so quick. It just seems like only a few weeks ago, really, when we started the course. But for me, I suppose, in terms of where I want to go with my career, it's given me a very different viewpoint. I challenge information, I challenge data an awful lot more, which I never thought I would at the start.
Okay.
But it also allows me to eliminate kind of that access and that irrelevant content or irrelevant information that kind of maybe would have been a stumbling block in the past.
Yeah.
I'd also like to see going forward in terms of overall sponsorship that we lean more into the world of data and analytics.
Yeah.
And allow that to inform how we progress with kind of partners and future sponsors.
But I think back to Niall's point at the very start, like the reality is data is all around us. You can choose to ignore it or you can choose to embrace it. And I think what you certainly said from your experience so far on the program, that by embracing it, you can really unlock some opportunities in your projects. Like Shea Emily now, it'll be really exciting to see how that manifests itself for the owners of that business.
Yeah, no, I actually can't wait. I'm delighted to hear that they're taking on board what we've proposed and that they're willing to invest as well.
Great. Okay, well, listen, I think I don't think there's any more questions coming through, but look, I think there's been a really good insight into the program, the content of the program, how it's imparted, more importantly, Fiona, how it's kind of coming to life from a student and practitioner's perspective. So thank you very much for that. So I think we'll leave it there. But Jade, I assume anybody who's interested in having a further conversation to contact yourself, Jade, and that's probably the best port to call.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I'm always happy to help. I take phone calls as well. Really, you can, we're still recruiting for this year's cohort. We have a starting date on the 22nd of September. So really, if you're interested in joining, please let me know. I'll be happy to chat with you, kind of look over your application as well. And then if you're interested as well in the CPD and analytics, you can always shoot me a message as well. I'll be happy.
Great. Well, listen, thank you very much, everybody. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of questions coming your way, Jade. But thank you to Niall and Fiona for this evening as well. Okay, take care, everybody.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.